Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Zac. So, Zac, if you're going to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Sure thing. So, real stoked to be here, first off. So, thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, so my name's Zac. I work for a business called Cartreel. So, I founded the company myself with my brother, and I'm based over in New Zealand. So, at the bottom of the earth, out the way of everybody else. But yeah, looking to take on the world with this with a startup. So, super excited about it.
Awesome. So, I'm curious more about your business. Like, what exactly do you guys do, and how did you get the idea for it?
Totally. So, I guess to kind of sum it up as simple as possible, we are a two-sided marketplace for brands and for shoppers. We essentially center everything around having the most authentic video reviews in the world. So essentially what we do is we capture video reviews from shoppers after they've shopped on the app. And then that's verified by us as being a obviously authentic review. People then are rewarded on their authenticity. So when they put up a review, they then get kickbacks from that review, and their reviews can be upvoted and downvoted by other shoppers to make sure they're socially vetted for authenticity as well. So essentially our vision, I guess, is to get to a point where when video reviews have the watermark of Cartreel on it and the Cartreel logo on it, people know it's trustworthy, and it's kind of like that's the perception of the brand, really. It's the most trusted place to shop. You know you're going to be able to buy with confidence, essentially.
For sure. For a two-sided marketplace, you always have this like chicken and the egg problem of like finding brands and finding customers. So how have you kind of like gone about doing that?
Yeah, so we have quite a unique go-to-market strategy to kind of squash that issue. So essentially we reward people on inviting other people to the app. So if I'm a shopper and I invite you to the app, I'll actually get kickbacks for life on any sales that come through you. So it just means that you kind of have this like passive income, I guess, as a shopper as well, where you can get kickbacks from inviting people and expanding the network, but also kickbacks off of your reviews as well. So it's a handy little way to kind of save money and make money on a shopping app.
For sure. So in terms of like the brands that you have currently, like are they mostly like in New Zealand, Australia, or in other countries? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so at the moment we're actually pre-launched, so we haven't quite launched our beta version yet, but we're very close. So at the moment it's just New Zealand focused. We're using New Zealand as a testing ground. And then once we figured out our kind of as close as we can get really to product market fit, when we're kind of starting to see people coming back and shopping a second or a third time, and the feedback that we're getting from our early adopters is that it's a great app and they're loving it, that's when we'll look to expand into Australia and then open the doors up to Aussie and then possibly even the US and the UK after that.
That's awesome. So in terms of like, I mean, obviously that you're early on, but in terms of like certain verticals, right? Like, are there certain verticals where you think that it could add more value, or where you see kind of like a natural fit for your platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess coming from the background I've come from, because I've been in sales for about 10 years now, and I used to do like home shows across the country and across the UK and across Australia as well, and just kind of seeing how people act in high pressure sales environments and the risk aversion that comes with that and the consumer behavior side of things. That's kind of what led me to making this as part of the reason. So I guess when I kind of look at it from that lens and look at it from a consumer behavior lens, it's like, okay, what products pose the most risk when buying online? And I'd say that probably fits mostly within the beauty category, just because obviously there's a high social risk for women that are looking to buy makeup. They want to make sure it's good makeup, that they're going to look good, they're going to, feel good about it, and it's going to make them feel great. Also, obviously, when you put on a lipstick, you can't really return it. So there's that kind of risk with it as well. The returns process isn't as easy as clothing and things like that. So we kind of see beauty as being a really key category to begin with. But we do have quite a decent spread at the moment with the brands that we currently have early adopted. So we have a bunch in health. We have some in fashion, some bigger names in fashion as well for the New Zealand market. And then we do have kind of like one or two in beauty as well. So we've got a little bit of a spread going on already. But it'll be interesting to see how things develop. We might go to a point where we kind of really focus in on a vertical or two to really kind of drive demand from both sides of the market within that vertical before we then expand out a little bit further. But at the moment, obviously not being too picky in the testing phase.
For sure. So in terms of like, the experience for shoppers, are they going to be, so in terms of like finding like your platform, right? Are they going to be coming from that brand's website per se, or is it going to be more of like ads or SEO for direct traffic? Like, what is the integration going to look like if I'm shopping on some like clothing brand's website, will they see that, hey, I can go and watch these video reviews, or like what is your intention with it?
Yeah, so the way that we're kind of positioning ourselves to begin with is actually as a separate platform. So we're our own app. So rather than you go into the brand's website and finding us there, you actually come to us and find the brand there, if that makes sense. So we kind of see this being a little bit more useful, I guess, from a brand's perspective if they're a smaller brand and they're looking to get extra exposure, because we only work on a success fee basis. So we only make money if the brand makes money. Which means that they're getting obviously free exposure. So for a small brand that's trying to compete in Google Ads, that is probably getting squashed by the likes of Temu and Amazon and eBay and these bigger players that have a lot of money, it's a good way for them to obviously come through us, get good exposure through our machine learning algorithms. Because we have algorithms that we're trying to kind of strive for TikTok-like algorithm, and that's how the app looks as well. It's all video-based or reel-based. So the way that we see it is, as a brand, you can connect in with us through Shopify, easy API. You just plug in and play, and then people can find you easier. They can trust that they're going to get what they're looking for because they get these authentic reviews from other shoppers. So that kind of removes that trust barrier that might be there to begin with if they don't know the brand, because that's the other thing, right? Big brands don't really have the trust barrier issue, because if you're buying from Nike, you kind of know what you're going to get, right? But if you're going from this other brand that looks great, but you've never heard of it, none of your mates have heard of it, you can't really get any information from anywhere, then it's great to have that in the app, right? And to have these other people that have shopped on the app, and that they're authentic reviews, and they're going, hey, look, I bought this and it was great. Like, I bought these running shoes, they're super comfy, no blisters even the first time I wore them, great arch support. I do trail running, but I've tried them on concrete and grass as well, and they're great for all uses. If someone's saying that on camera, it's going to make you a lot more likely to just bite the bullet and be like, cool, I'll try this new product, tell this new brand out. So that's kind of what we're striving for, if that makes sense. So I guess to go back to your question, the way that people will find us is, one, through referrals, like I said. So if I'm shopping, I might invite you on and be like, hey man, you need to check out this Cartreel app. I've been making a bit of passive income off of it. They've got some great deals on here and some cool kind of independent brands you wouldn't have seen before. Come check it out. And then obviously you start spending money and I start getting kickbacks for that. Otherwise, on top of that, as we kind of grow, obviously, and we want to pour a bit more fuel on the fire, we'll start to actually go a bit more aggressively into some media buying, which is the space that I'm in at the moment, full-time work. So I know a lot about media strategy and buying media and social media, but also in more traditional media as well, like radio and podcasting and things like that too. I buy in that space. So yeah, that'll be kind of where we start to push. When we start to go external, we're going to have a large focus on brand. We want it to be, rather than performance, like people, if I'm looking for shoes and I just type in shoes into Google, like we don't really want to get those people. We'd rather people go, I want to shop on Cartreel. I'm going to go to Cartreel specifically because I know I'll find something on there that'll be good quality, and I know it's going to be good quality because of the way that the app's set up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So does Cartreel have like a checkout experience as well, or is the checkout going to be back on their website?
No, we have the full end-to-end. So yeah, the way it works, basically, like I said, the brand plugs in with a Shopify API, plug and play. Then the shopper would see that brand on Cartreel. They'd see the videos. They'd go, cool, I like the look of this product. They'd swipe left. And then they'd basically go on to Review Bank. So then that's all the review feed for that product. So then they can flick through those, have a little look at different ones. Then when they've decided, cool, I'm happy with this, I'm going to purchase it, then they can go onto the product, have a look at the product info, purchase from there, or they can just go buy now straight from the review. Once they do that, they go through the payment portal. Obviously, if they're already logged in, we'll have all their payment details and everything saved if they want it to be that way, so it's easier. But yeah, they can go through the normal process as a guest if they want to as well. Then from there, it basically just comes through Shopify to the brand exactly how a normal online order would for their website. So it'll just be tagged with Cartreel, and it'll just come through as an email, order confirmed, shipped to this address, and then the brand just fulfills that order.
Awesome. So obviously now you're about to get to this beta version. What has been the biggest challenge you faced to get you to this point?
It's an interesting question because my brother kind of handles the tech side, so I don't really know what the biggest challenges have been for him. but he's an absolute whiz and a cloud engineer over in London. He's part of a big firm there, so he's really, really on top of things. But I'd say from my side, it's been harder to get brands on board than I thought it would be. Going into it, being from a sales background and being like, okay, it's like success fee. There's no upfront cost. It's real easy. Like very, very small amount of resource goes into actually getting on to Cartreel. Like I said, it's a plug in and play. So it's really easy to link up. It's very, time efficient and also cost efficient because it doesn't cost anything until you make a sale. So to me, it was like, it's a no brainer, If I'm a brand, I'll be doing it. But what I think I underestimated is the culture of New Zealand. And I don't mean to bag on my fellow Kiwis, but we're very risk averse, which obviously
Yes.
will work well for the app when it is up and running because shoppers will enjoy it because they're risk averse. But it makes it harder to get brands on board because they're
Right.
like, oh, well, we'll just wait until you've kind of gone over this kind of infancy period and you smoothed out all the bumps and the teething issues. And
Right.
once we kind of see a little bit of proof of it actually working for other brands, then we'll jump on board. It's kind of like that's the culture here. And like talking to other founders that are from New Zealand and Australia, they've been saying like, bro, like America is so different. And like, obviously you can speak on this, but they're like, man, you go over there and brands are just like, yeah, like we'll try it. Like this sounds epic,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we'll just give it a go. We'll throw the hat in and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like nothing really lost.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if I can kind of break those barriers down. And I think that it'll help strengthen the brand as well, because obviously with that culture being a challenge here, if we can push past it in this market, I think it just shows that we'll be able to grow in other markets that are a little bit easier culturally.
Yeah, for sure. Americans, yeah, are definitely, especially, I mean, I'm in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of founders here, and yeah, people are much more like, let's just do it and just, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a very different culture. And I have heard that about Australia and New Zealand. In terms of, brands that you onboard, I mean, like you mentioned, like some of the different vertical, like how many different brands do you have now? And I guess like what would be ideal for you in terms of like, good at, let's just say even like it's like in the next quarter, like what are you kind of aiming for in terms of like how many brands that you would like to have on board?
Yeah, of course. So at the moment, I think we're on about 7 or 8 brands.
Okay.
So we started onboarding probably in about October, and I'd say it's hard to say how many brands we want. I think I'd have more of a focus on products than brands,
Right.
just because of the way that the app's set out at the start. So with our beta version, there won't be like a storefront. It'll just be basically all the products will get loaded in from all the brands, and you'll just be kind of flicking through them. And then we'll move into a direction where if you go onto a product, then you can view the store by dragging the screen down kind of thing, and you can see the other products that that store has. So when we get to that point, that's when it will be more important of the number of brands, if that makes sense. But at the moment, the number of products is more important. So
Right.
for me, it's about how can I get some bigger wins. I've had probably 1 or 2 brands that I've got on board so far that have 200 plus SKUs, and I want to get a few more of those, because if I can get to about 1,000 products, in the next kind of quarter, that would be pretty ideal. It just means that you've got then a decent amount of content for people to flick through. Those brands then that have those kind of products, they should be dropping every season as well, obviously. So there should be new products coming on and filtering through. So I think if we can get to 1,000 products in the next 3 months, that would be ideal. Brands wise, I'd say in the next 6 months, we'd probably be wanting to look to push the brand number up as much as possible as well. So by then, I'd probably want to be at about 50 brands, I'd say, in about 6 months' time. So yeah, if I get like maybe another 10 on board in the first quarter of this year, and then try to push for another 20 to 30 the second quarter, that would be great.
For sure. So if you could go back in time to before you got started, like what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
I mean, I think that the thing that I underestimated was the amount of talking and testing you have to do. Like, I think I took like a Harvard online school, like entrepreneurship essentials course, and I learned everything I needed to know from that course. It was great. But I just underestimated like how many people you should be talking to for it to actually become fact rather than just hearsay, if that makes sense. Like
Right.
I talked to a few people, and then their kind of ideas would align with mine, and then I'd be like, okay, cool, like let's go with that. But then you kind of get deeper into it, and then you start to kind of like uncover these other problems, and you start to talk to more and more people, and then you kind of start to figure out, okay, cool, maybe this wasn't the right direction, and maybe we have to kind of go this way a little bit more, and it's like somewhere in between, you know what I mean? So I guess just that testing and learning phase, just don't underestimate how many people you should be talking to, and just talk to as many people as possible. And I'd say the second thing would be really knuckling down your value proposition and understanding what value you bring, but also how to communicate that value. Because I feel like when you're first starting out, you kind of, especially without what we're building, it solves a lot of different issues in the e-commerce space. So for us, it was figuring out which ones were the ones to actually communicate and which ones are the ones to actually really go all in on and actually communicate. Because if you're communicating 6 different kind of things that benefits that your app can bring, you don't really kind of resonate with any. So
Right.
I'd say like anyone starting out, I'd say put some really good thought into, or even get like a external consultant to help you really build out your offer and understand the value you bring, and really understand, where your ideal vision is. Like I said, with us, it's that whole having a watermark with the Cartreel logo on a review will basically tell you that review is trustworthy. Like that's the perception that we want of the brand. Like having that vision then tells me, well, our offer and our proposition is really to do with authenticity, real humans talking about real products. Because obviously, with the likes of AI coming through and stuff like that, you've got AI UGC, which is on the rise at the moment. And it's pretty, you don't have to be a genius to know that people are going to be like, is this real? Is this AI in, a year's time? So having a place where people can come, they're like, this is real humans. There's no AI on here. That's going to be really powerful. So that's kind of now what I'm focusing on. And that is kind of us. That's our mantra. So I'd say that would be my advice. Is just really knuckle down that as early as you can, because that's going to really kind of push you in the right trajectory. Otherwise, your head's just going to be scrambled and all over the place.
Yeah, I think, sometimes it can be as simple as just talking to customers or potential customers. Yeah, I think that like when you're building, you're just thinking of like, oh, here's like all like the reasons why this could be good, but like it might be different from what like the actual user might think once you go and have those conversations.
Yeah. And also like just being steps ahead, man. Like I'm quite a futuristic thinker. So, and I know that a lot of other founders are like that as well. So, you start to think 5, 10, 20 steps ahead. But the thing is you might not, your market might not be ready for you to implement that for like another 5 years, And you might be like, flip, well, we're going to be way ahead of the game. But then if the users aren't going to use it because they don't want to yet, because it's like so out of touch with what things are like at the moment, even though you might think that things are too far behind at the moment, which is what I think. But that doesn't matter what I think, right? It matters what the masses think and what the majority of the market thinks. So it's about knowing what will they actually adopt, what's going to be pushing the boundary enough for it to be cool and new and different, not too different that it's like hard to use and out of touch. So I think that's another thing as well. It's just really kind of staying grounded and not getting too far ahead of yourself and just making sure you write down your plans, you kind of have that upward trajectory, but you don't bring it in too soon.
Exactly. So speaking of that, if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
I'd hope in 1 year from now I'd be full time. That's definitely one of the big aims for me. I would say by then it's possible that we might get funding. I think just the nature of what we're trying to build probably favors getting around to funding, just to try and really capture that network effect, because obviously that's where the value comes in from a marketplace. So yeah, I'm not scared of funding. I know that a lot of people put voodoo on funding, but I think that it can be necessary sometimes for certain models, and that's the model that we want to go for, and that's the model we want to try. So yeah, so I've already started those conversations with a lot of investors over this side of the globe. So it will be interesting to see where they go. So yeah, maybe in a year's time we might be at that point, maybe not. It just depends. Like these things always take more time than what you think. So yeah, I mean, the main focus right now is just launching the first version, getting early adopters on, getting the initial reviews up, because obviously to begin with there'll be no reviews. That's going to be one of our major teething issues. So I'm talking to a lot of UGC creators, and we're trying to find ways to kind of get around that and get some early reviews up there that are authentic. And then once we've kind of got through all those teething issues, we'll be then ready to start really kind of getting a bit more serious with those investor conversations. And then once we have that, like I said, that product market fit, if we have funding behind us, then we then try to launch into other markets and really try to go more aggressive.
For sure. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media, I guess, best ways to get in contact?
Yeah, totally. So a few ways. I mean, the easiest way is probably just my email, such as Zac, Z-A-C, at Cartreel, so CARTREEL.com. So that's the easiest way. Just look me an email and I'll get back to you. I get back to everyone, so don't be shy. And another way is you can just connect with me on LinkedIn. You have me on LinkedIn, as you know, so I'm just Zac Warren-Brown on there. You should be able to find me. Yeah, just look for my face. But yeah, apart from that, I'd say that those are probably the two easiest ways to find me. We do have social media as well, and our website's just cartreel.com. If you want to check it out, feel free to go check it out. We've got a nice little handy video of me with my rig out on there, so go and enjoy that. Go have a look at it, and yeah, just check it out. Just see what we're building, understand it a little bit more, and yeah, reach out and just ask any questions you guys need to, because yeah, it's going to be exciting. You want to be a part of it, and yeah, it's going to be onwards and upwards from here.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. And Zac, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, cheers, Dan. Appreciate it.
Cheers.